What is going on, everybody? It's KB. Before the episode starts, make sure you go check out StreamerSZN's brand new theme music. That's right. We have full-time, brand new theme music thanks to the newest homie and newest member of the music side of Underground Sports Philadelphia homies. That is Mobley. Stay Volk. His new single is out now. It is linked in the description on YouTube, and you'll be hearing it on audio until we can figure out if we can play it on video on StreamerSZN episodes from here on out. That's our new theme music. Stay Volk. Go download it now wherever you get your music, and go check out the music video on YouTube. But now, let's get into the episode of StreamerSZN.
Philadelphia, baby, you're gonna love it. Best sports fans in the world. Actually, the worst, but that's what makes them the best.
Boy, oh boy, what a loaded docket she is. What is going on, fellow streamers? Welcome into another edition of StreamerSZN, the exclusive streaming platform TV and movie podcast on the Underground Sports Philadelphia Podcast Network. It's KB and Christian coming at you with a loaded docket. Not even everything we're talking about is on our docket as you're watching on YouTube, because we have a separate layout for another review season. But we're going to break down the season finale of TheSympathizer. We're going to get into the next project from Lucasfilm and Star Wars, and that is The Acolyte, the 2-episode premiere. And then we've got a movie review, one of my most enjoyed movies over the past couple of years, and that is 2021's Tick, Tick, Boom, starring Andrew Garfield. And then we'll get into the streaming platform multiverse news and notes. But before we get into all of that, make sure you guys are following us on the socials at StreamerSZN on Twitter, Instagram, and Threads, and StreamerSZN Pod on TikTok. You can follow Christian on Twitter at @thewiz_phi. Follow me at KBIZZL311. Also follow us on Letterboxd. Just search StreamerSZN. And of course, subscribe to the podcast feed, Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts in audio form. Leave a 5-star rating and review. It goes a long way for helping the show continue to grow. Helps a lot more people find StreamerSZN and Underground Sports Philadelphia as a whole. And Christian, as we're recording this, the London series is going on. They had the London mascot run, and Freddie Mercury won the mascot race.
Rigged. It's rigged.
It's rigged, isn't it?
Rigged, love.
But keep subscribing on Apple and Spotify. And, of course, subscribe to the Underground Sports Philadelphia YouTube channel, youtube.com/@UndergroundSportsPhiladelphia. That is where you get full video episodes of this show, full video episodes of every show on our network, clips, shorts, live streams, original video content. It is all on our YouTube channel. We're at 803 subscribers as of this recording. Let's get to 900 by the end of June. Let's make that happen. And then we'll go into the dog days of summer and hopefully into a red October for all you Phillies fans out there, having broken 1,000 subscribers and then some. So keep on subscribing to the YouTube channel. Smash that like button. Ring the bell icon. Leave a comment down below with your show and movie recommendations as well. We will read the good ones in the YouTube comment section. Be nice. Don't tell us to watch anything bad. But you can leave them in the YouTube comment section or the podcast reviews, and we will add them to our list. But Christian, it is the month of June, as we denoted a couple months ago. It's Hell Month in terms of just like big time popular shows. One of them is on our docket now, and we are wrapping up with a show we've been watching for quite some time, and that is TheSympathizer. It is the finale. Before we get into all the nitty gritty of it, now that it has come to a conclusion, how do you feel about how this show played out?
Good, not great. It's a show that I enjoyed watching, I think, more than I actually thought it was a great show. I think that's the simplest way to put it.
Yeah, it was one of those things where you and I aligned on a lot of things, which typically isn't the norm. But in a good way. I think we both viewed a lot of this in a lot of similar fashion. And I've kept it real from the jump. To me, it was kind of a grind and a slog to get through. Um, there were parts that were fun. There were parts that were like, "What the hell am I watching?" And then there were parts that it was like, "All right, is this a is this a Robert Downey Jr. show, or is this a show about what we expect it to be about?" And that's no disrespect to Robert Downey Jr. Um, but yeah, it was an interesting show. I think it was a show that this podcast needed in a sense for us in particular, just to, you know, kind of step out of a comfort zone that we've been in over the years and kind of find something that wasn't necessarily like the greatest show ever. It was well done, but it wasn't, the perfect show.
Yeah, like it was a maturation one could say in our in well in what we've done on this show.
hmm Um, So let's get into the finale of the Sympathizer. I don't know. Is this the series finale? Would you say?
So yes, because this is just even though there's technically a sequel book, I don't think they're making a sequel to this, but I think that was fundamentally like this is this is the season.
So the title of the episode: "Endings are hard, aren't they?"
You don't say.
So we have the captain and Bond arriving in Bangkok, where Claude, played by Robert Downey Jr., gives their troop time to party at a local bar before their mission. Privately, Claude shows the captain that he possesses a tape where he confesses his real alliance to Sonny, played by Alan Trong. Claude pressures him to take a spiked drink, which will make him ill and cause him to be relieved from his duty so they can discuss all his actions. The captain refuses, and he is sent to Vietnam the following day. As their troop is shot down, Bond prepares to relentlessly fight, but is convinced by the captain to just give up and surrender. They are captured and taken to a North Vietnamese re education camp where Bond tries to get himself killed by opposing the camp's communist alliance. This is where the captain writes his confession, trying to get the commandant to accept his quote unquote ending compared to his suggestions. However, rather than writing what his communist comrades wish to hear, the captain writes a complex and nuanced reflection of the events that have led him to his imprisonment. After standing up towards the camp's commissar, a man who covered his scarred head after suffering in the fall of Saigon, he is impressed with his confession, but he wants to know deeper into the captain's memories. He subjects him to extensive days of torture, during which he continues hallucinating the pressure of Sonny and On. He imagines being released and talking with Mon before finally opening up to the commissar over his guilt over letting a female spy being tortured rather than revealing his cover. The hallucination also reveals that he actually met his father, Robert Downey Jr., who was a priest when he was a child. The commissar then surprises the captain by revealing that the female spy is actually in the camp and has also written a confession. Despite his actions, she has not exposed his cover. And then during another encounter, the commissar removes his mask, revealing himself to be Mon. As his final test, Mon makes the captain think of something more important than the country's freedom and independence. The captain concludes that it is nothing, and he is finally allowed to go. The captain uses Mon's mask to release Bond from confinement and gives him an officer's uniform. As Mon watches, the captain and Bond leave the camp on a vehicle. Driving off, the captain wants to open up about more secrets he has kept from Bond, but the latter is not interested, content that he is free. Later that night, the captain and Bond sneak into a boat with other refugees to escape Vietnam. The captain, joined by Sonny and On, looks onto the beach, finally leaving the country.
Yep.
Overall takeaways from the finale, Christian.
So we finally saw how it was going to circle all back around. And I think if we're being honest that we kind of figured that out about 3 weeks ago. But it's interesting how this final week became more so an examination of self more than any of the other episodes, in the sense that while many of the episodes before were focused around dueling identities, that this was a question about more so what does one stand for, and thus by the end, in its weird way, he finds himself. He finds his true self. He's no longer a man with two faces. So from that point of view, I enjoyed this a good bit. It was not the most, let's just say, this hasn't been the most fun show to watch because it is just a dense show.
Mm-hmm.
Which, I mean, there's nothing we can do about that, but it is what it is.
Yeah, I think dense is the word for sure. Um, like I mentioned, like for me personally, like it was like a slog to get through a lot of the time, and it was like at some points you and I were both like, "What show are we watching?" Um, it was
Well,
interesting.
I would say it is arguably interesting that probably the most episodes of compelling episodes of the captain's character development revolved around episodes where it isn't Robert Downey Jr. focused,
Hmm.
which again, don't say no. You know, but I do think that this episode did have some rather compelling scenes, and uh, I'm pretty sure that bar scene was actually in there because that was after they got off the plane. I thought,
Yeah.
yeah. So
Sorry, I
that
just got distracted. Nick
uh,
Castellanos just went yard in London, and the
yeehaw,
royal family better watch out.
da da da.
The name's Bond. Nick Castellanos Bond.
What's what's Nick's number?
8.
Agent 008.
In it.
Post it, stamp
Oh,
it.
that's great.
Uh, but yeah, it's I. This isn't. I think to have this conversation about this episode because I feel like I touched on the central theme of it. We need to talk about this series as a whole.
Which we said from the jump.
Yeah. So, what do you think the core point of the series is in your mind?
Um, I think we talked about it a couple weeks ago, where it was kind of like it definitely was a show that had a lot of elements of perception and watching it through like the point of view lens almost of um the captain and Bond, Mon, and the rest of the characters viewing Robert Downey Jr. as a similar person, just in different roles, almost, which is exactly what he is, uh,
So,
to a T. But
something something white people something something.
yes, something commentary on the white man. Um, it's definitely a show about perception. Is one of my biggest takeaways from it.
Yeah. It's it's a show that's about what how you identify yourself, number one. Number two, competing ideologies in a sense of coexistence are arguably it's very much a character study, but in the way it's handled, it is not the most digestible thing. Which again, I hate saying because I love Park Chan Wook and I love almost everything he does, but This show scratched an itch, but it didn't fulfill what I want out of a show like this, like Slow Horses, which is a show I hopefully drag you in to start talking about. But this was a spy show that was a character that was sorry, this was a character study masquerading as a spy show, not vice versa, which is why I think it feels weird to us.
What is it with us and these big hopes for spy shows?
Something we desperately crave types of thrilling stuff. Something.
Like, we got more espionage from Burt Kreischer's movie. When you think about it,
I love that fun, stupid movie,
it's the best.
but
We waxed poetic about that movie.
Oh yeah.
But tell me I'm wrong. We got more espionage from the machine than we did in Secret Invasion in this show.
Yeah. Anyway, let's just give our final grades on this because it's been a few weeks since the show ended, and I'm not fully sure what I want to say about it.
Yeah, like we said at the beginning of us watching this, we were going to kind of judge it on the series as a whole and not episode by episode. So this will be the first and only grades on the show that you get from us. Yep. Putting it in our database now. But Christian, what is your overall grade for the Sympathizer?
7-8. Like I want to give this show an 8 point, but just didn't do enough for me to get up there. Though I think it's something that in 5 to 10 years we may look on as better than we thought it was. But
that's true.
Who knows?
I'm gonna give it like a 7.3.
Okay.
Like it had good elements visually. It was really well done, and like the way that it was produced was very pleasing to me. But it lost me in a lot of parts, and like I've mentioned time and time again, like it was like sometimes like walking through quicksand to get through some of the episodes. And for a show that is only 7 episodes, I would hope that it wouldn't feel like that. But I'll give it a 7.3. So the overall score from us is a 15.1. You divide that in half, it rounds up to a 7.6, which ties it with Echo on the year in terms of television.
Interesting.
So there's the Sympathizer. Let us know in the YouTube comment section your thoughts. If you have been watching along with us, or if you just started watching it, how you feel about the Sympathizer. But without any further ado, let's get to the next installment in the Star Wars universe. But before we talk about it, want to talk to you guys about our friends over at Tomahawk Shades, the best small batch eyewear in the game. They have been on board with us for years now, and from sunglasses to blue light glasses and prescription lenses, Tomahawk Shades has you covered with the best eyewear for a fraction of the price of the big eyewear companies. There's no reason for you guys to go out there and spend $300, $400, $500+ on a pair of sunglasses, on a pair of blue light glasses, on a pair of prescription lenses, when you can go to tomahawkshades.com and get a better quality product for a fraction of the price of those big eyewear companies. They are truly the most comfortable sunglasses, the most comfortable blue light glasses. I wear the blue lights when I'm editing, when I'm watching TV and movies, and it makes my eyes feel genuinely rested. They feel better. I'm not, extremely tired. My eyes aren't worn out, by the end of the day. You can do the same. Go to tomahawkshades.com or download the Tomahawk Shades app in the App Store or Google Play Store and fill your cart up to the brim. And when you go to checkout, use code USP for 25% off your order from our friends at Tomahawk Shades. That's tomahawkshades.com. Use code USP for 25% off your order, or download the Tomahawk Shades app and you can do the same. Use code USP for 25% off your order. Christian, it is the Acolyte, the newest installment in the Star Wars universe, starring our guy from Squid Game, who I recently found out learned to speak English for this show, and part of him learning English was watching Liam Neeson as Qui-Gon Jinn, which reflects quite a bit in his character so far, I would say.
Yes, it does.
But I thought that was a cool little piece of info that I learned about the show and everything. Lee Jung Jae as Jedi Master Soul. The Acolyte is brand new. I am not sure. I don't believe so, because it's in the High Republic era, which is in the era before the events of everything from the Skywalker saga, and I believe it's, close to, if not 100 years before the prequels. So this doesn't tie into anything from like The Mandalorian or Ahsoka that you have seen. This is all pre that, which is very fun, and you can kind of watch it as its own property. The High Republic era is stuff that has been introduced to the Star Wars universe primarily through books and comics. It first rolled out, I believe, in 2020 with a 3-book series. I'll have to ask my guy Joe Andrus, who's been on this show before, if I'm correct there. But the premise of the Acolyte is it's set at the end of the Star Wars franchise's High Republic era, approximately 100 years before the Phantom Menace, and it sees a respected Jedi Master investigating a series of crimes that bring him into contact with a former Padawan learner, and reveal sinister forces, which we saw a shadow of one of those sinister forces at the end of episode 2 of this series. Lot of fun twists. It's the genre that it's listed as is an action adventure, a crime drama, a mystery thriller, and obviously science fiction. There was a lot of fun elements in these first 2 episodes, obviously dealing with the twin sister aspect of things. We have another elder green-skinned Jedi Master coming through, and I think Lee Jung Jae has been fantastic so far. Very much enjoying him in this next journey for him. But Christian, you said that you were going to give the Acolyte a shot. Traditionally, Star Wars is not your avenue outside of Andor. That being
Correct.
your big dog right there. But you said you're going to give the Acolyte a chance, and 2 episodes in, before we started recording, you said you have a Star Wars take to put out to the universe, and I don't know where it's going, but before you give your take, what was your overall impression of the Acolyte?
Me happy man. Me like. But my take will partially stem from that, but I am happy with the show.
That's
happy.
a pleasant surprise.
Well, you'll understand why when I eventually unleash this take.
So should we save the take for post breakdown
Yes.
of these episodes? Okay. Acolyte's out. If you haven't
Bang.
watched it, Christian, deliver that spoiler warning.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is our typical spoiler warning. I would suggest that if you've not watched this week's 2 episodes of The Acolyte, I would probably suggest it would be a good idea for you to pause this podcast, quickly pull up Disney Plus or whatever service you may or may not be watching this on, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, nod, nod, and watch these 2 episodes. It's only about, excluding the credits, it's probably about an hour 10, hour 5 worth of runtime, and then come back and listen to us talk about this show.
So there it is, your spoiler warning for the 2-episode premiere of The Acolyte, which first episode was directed and written by Leslie Headland. And if you don't know Leslie Headland, Christian, do you know Leslie Headland?
I feel like I've looked this up multiple times at this point, but just please remind me.
So she is best known for the play and 2012 film Bachelorette and 2015 film Sleeping with Other People. She co-created the Netflix series Russian Doll
There we
along
go.
with Natasha
There we
Lyonne
go.
and Amy Poehler.
Yeah, I remember Russian Doll being involved in this show somehow. I just couldn't exactly put it in my mind where I was getting it from.
Oh, these idiots in London are doing the wave.
Well, Kyle, we don't know how many of them are British, so we can't fully blame them.
Fair. I'll give the pass, but I don't like the wave happening with Sir Anthony Dominguez on the mound.
True. Anyway,
The first episode of The Acolyte, written and directed by Leslie Headland, titled Lost/Found, Lost and Found, however you want to interpret it. We start off with that beautiful intergalactic starry sky backdrop with blue text, which was great. And 100 years before the rise of the Galactic Empire, the Galactic Republic and Jedi Order preside during a time of centuries-long peace. In a bar on the planet Ueda, Jedi Master Indara is attacked and killed by a woman wielding daggers.
which I need to quickly unpack that we get Carrie-Anne Moss for one scene. Fuck you guys. No. I refuse. No.
She's
We are
almost certain to show up in flashbacks. I would be stunned.
Yes, but it's the principle. It's the principle. One?
Plus, she had a green lightsaber, too.
One scene?
We give you one morsel.
Pardon me?
I wish I could have seen your reaction to her getting daggered.
What the fuck, man? Just what the fuck?
Clip it. The bartender identifies Osha Anastasia, a former Jedi Padawan learner, as the killer. Osha, who works as a mechanic doing dangerous repairs on the outside of starships, denies committing the crime when arrested by Jedi Knight Yord Fandar and his Padawan Tassi Loa.
Hashtag Star Wars names, Yord Fandar.
I gotta find because it was so funny. Our guy Joe Andrus, who's been on this show. Let me find his tweet because he tweeted about him. He said he has two tweets. Jedi Order, more like Jedi Yorder, am I right? Followed by, my favorite part of the Acolyte premiere was when Yord said, it's Yordan time, and Yorded all over the place.
Oh, dear.
But yes, Yord Fandar, ultimate all-name team in Star Wars. En route to Coruscant, the galactic capital, Osha's fellow prisoners escape and leave her to crash land on the planet Karlak. She sees a vision of her twin sister May, who was presumed dead in a fire that killed their family when they were young. And I believe Lee Jung-jae's character, Master Soul, said it was like she was presumed dead 16 years prior to the events that are happening now. Osha deduces that May is alive and the one who killed Indara. Jedi Master Vernestra Ruo, your English vernacular is not supposed to pronounce RW like that. It's like Scooby-Doo talking.
I love how we did it at the exact same time. I love how we did it at the exact same time without thinking just
Jinkies. Roinks, Raggy. Vernestra sends Master Soul, Osha's former teacher, Lee Jung-jae's character, to Karlak with his current Padawan, Jeki Lon, who just sounds like a Jedi rock star.
No, he he sounds like someone who would. He sounds like someone who would be a soccer striker or a hockey forward.
Oh,
Go,
yes.
Jackie Long.
As Jackie Lawn as he streaks the lawn. And Yord. They find Osha, and Soul accepts her theory about May. Elsewhere, May meets with her mysterious master, who has challenged her to kill a Jedi without using a weapon.
Bum bum bum.
Bum bum
Bum.
bum. Your takeaways from this episode, Christian? I thoroughly was like very enthralled by this episode and just how it played itself out and kind of set the tone for the type of show and the type of Star Wars we're going to get. And yes, I say type of Star Wars now because not everything has to be, you know, Jedi and Sith and Skywalker and everything. You can get different iterations of Star Wars now, which is nice. And I think this is going to be a fun story to follow along with, and kind of just playing two sides of a coin and which sister is which, and figuring out how the Jedi kind of navigate something like this. And we're going on a Jedi killing spree, which is pretty interesting. But what were your takeaways from this first episode of The Acolyte?
Is this where I unleash the take?
If you feel it proper to unleash the take.
Star Wars needs to just go needs to go full genre and stop doing adventure movies. Do your thrillers, do all these fun genre stuff. Like while our mileage may fundamentally vary on The Mandalorian as time has gone, the most notable 3 Disney shows are basically and I'm saying this while Boba Fett exists, so it's dangerous to say. But we've been given what I'll loosely say is a western, a spy thriller, and another thriller. Like the way you bring more people in, and the way you just get Star Wars out of its own malaise, is stop feeling the need to do all this. We're going across the galaxy adventure to defeat the evil. Like, no, not every Star Wars movie, not every Star Wars thing has to be the good versus evil fight straight up, and we have to go over a full hero's arc from someone who didn't know they had powers. Like, no, stop this. Like, we've done stuff about bounty hunters, about rogues, and now we're doing something where it's questioning the Jedi, and it's about someone who used to be a Jedi but left due to issues. Like, stop platforming the Jedi feels weird to say, but it's also just like there's Star Wars needs to, and now they've kind of started this, but they have to get out of their own way and just do good movies and not do the good prototypical Star Wars stuff, because it just, people don't care anymore about the prototypical Star Wars stuff because they've spun their wheels since the late 90s, and we, as a movie going culture and a TV consuming culture, need to stop being okay with being fed the Star Wars adventure story, because fundamentally so many other things do it nowadays that it's just old at this point. It doesn't feel fresh, and you're just digging back on past things. So if to me Andor and the Acolyte have proven anything, and like n- remind me, did any Jedi show up in Andor? I don't think
No.
so. But like in and even though these first two episodes have involved Jedi, it's not like we're doing lightsaber battle and force battle and all this different stuff. It's like we're doing actual action stuff with which actually looks good. And one thing kind of stuck out to me as I was watching the fights in this opening in these opening two episodes. Now I'm gonna pull up the dir- directors of this for a second because I want to try and make a point here. So while he hasn't directed the he hasn't directed the first two episodes, he directs 3 and 7. I feel like Koganada has had his hands in the cookie jars a little throughout this. So for people who don't know who Koganada is, he is a writer director. He's South Korean born, but came to America as a child, and he's kind of one of the ultimate youngish. I don't know how how old he is, but he's one of the film nerdiest type of guys where he's made video essays throughout the last 10 plus years. And he's also directed two very quiet, more contemplative films. And I couldn't help but to feel specifically in the first Carrie Ann Moss fight that basically opens the show. I was getting Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon vibes, and there's all these fights feel like they have a lot of Eastern influence, and the reason I bring up Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, which I believe, oh, it's on one of the streaming services, so I think it's
I'll
on
pull it
Max.
up.
Kyle, do you want to check that for me? But it's this great Michelle Yeoh Chow Yun
It's on
Fat
Max.
Max, perfect. So anyone who's watching the show, I would suggest you watch that because while that is a story that involves a lot of swordplay, it's also in various parts a karate movie, but it's set in ancient China. And the reason the opening fight stuck out to me is because it has a lot of those what could be defined as wushu elements, where it's kind of like people flying through the air mystically. Which, Kyle, if you remember Carrie Ann Moss kind of going up, going up to that balcony, that instantly made me think of stuff in Crouching Tiger, Hidden Hidden Dragon. And so it's this is something. This is a show that cares about how the films are how the show is being made and puts actual thought into space and environment. And I really really enjoy that, while also it has a plot where it's not like I know exactly where this is going, yada yada yada. And while you know where Andor is going, as in like you know the end result of the 2 seasons, you don't know how they got there. Whereas with every prototypical Star Wars thing, it's good, evil. Good will eventually defeat evil, but because it's a trilogy, the character must progress 3 different times to get to that point. So it's like it's this this is again all tied to my plea. Star Wars, take do different stuff like this, please, because this is doing good, and I've seen plenty of people who I follow and I trust saying that this is my favorite non Andor Star Wars thing, and I think it kind of shows in the type of quality we're getting with this, and the type of people you you're getting to this. You're you're getting Leslie Headland. You're getting Koganada. You're getting actual legitimate directors to do things.
Yeah, and I think this is something that Dylan and I have talked about on this show dating years back when The Mandalorian was first bursting onto the scene. We said Star Wars, its first, you know, hello to everybody when it first came out was in a galaxy far, far away. A galaxy is massive. There are a multitude upon multitude of stories that you can tell in a galaxy that doesn't pigeonhole itself into coarse sand and the Skywalker family. There's so many different angles that you can take and approach things, and we've seen that with the Mandalorian. We've seen that with Ahsoka as kind of a continuation of the Clone Wars, which is a great, filler of a ton of gray area and different stories in the Star Wars universe on the animated side of things. And then we got the live action Ahsoka series, Andor, and now this. Like, we have seen so many different stories be told. And it's funny, I pulled up this article, Christian, from the playlist.net when the show was getting pitched, that is The Acolyte, because I remembered this quote when I was watching some breakdowns. Leslie Headland pitched this show to Kathleen Kennedy as Kill Bill meets Frozen. You're muted.
We'll see about the Frozen part, which but Kill Bill makes sense, yeah. And this is the case where I at least feel like 2 episodes in, like there's a great term that's been used for Marvel movies, which is when promoting films, the directors tended to engage in what was loosely called director bullshit, where it's like, oh, Captain America and the Winter Soldiers, like these two is comparable to these two all-time Cold War spy thriller shows, and it's like, stop it, get help. But this is a case where it's impossible to live up to the legacy of Kill Bill, obviously, but I do think that at least you can see the stylistic stuff here where it's making sense.
Yeah. And I do have another part of this article, which will be very funny for you to hear, because other films Headland cites as influencing the show
She
include
said Crouching Tiger.
Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, Kurosawa's Samurai Pictures, Rashomon, and Yojimbo.
What did I say? What did I say? Eastern influences, motherfucker.
And the classic Shaw Brothers flick Come Drink With Me, directed by King Hu.
So, Kyle, I now may need to force you to ditch our plan to do Everybody Wants Some next week, and you're watching Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon instead. Just because, spoiler alert, I haven't read that article, so it's like, oh, Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, I kind of nailed that. Oh, Kurosawa too? That makes sense. And so it's like, look at me!
10 points to Gryffindor.
10 points to USP.
But yeah, I thought this opening episode was a great, Kickstarter for this show. And like we've both mentioned, like it is a different story being told in the Star Wars universe while there's still Jedi like around. But the initial premise and what we're going to continue seeing is that this show is going to make you question the tactics and the infrastructure of what the Jedi Order is. And that's exciting. That's a fun thing to really like wrap your head around after decades and decades and decades, if you are a Star Wars fan, of kind of just pigeonholing the Jedi as the good, the Sith as the bad, and that's that. It's going to be a lot of fun to see how this unfolds and we continue to kind of see the spy aspects of things and the double agent, if you will, of these twin sisters in Osha and May. But Christian, what is your score for episode 1 of The Acolyte? You're muted again.
So I feel more comfortable trying to grade Star Wars shows like this on an actual scale, but I also feel like grading it on a Star Wars scale also is something good. So let's just say on a Star Wars scale, I give it like an 8/8. On a normal scale, like normal scope of all things, I give it a 7/9.
So should I add both of those up for you and that be your
Uh,
overall average?
I would say just keep a separate tally going.
Okay, let me put this here. I really enjoyed this first episode, and I like how they made this a 2-episode premiere. I think both episodes flowed really well together to kind of keep the story flowing, keep you on the edge of your seat waiting for these next episodes. So yeah, I really liked how this went. I am going to give this first episode, I'm going to go 8.4. I thought it was really well done. It keeps you on your toes. It makes you start questioning things like right away. So yeah, I'm going to go 8.4 for my first episode score, which brings us to episode 2, and the Phillies have won in London, in it. Episode 2 is Revenge/Justice, or Revenge and Justice, however you want to interpret it. This was also directed by
Revenge or Justice.
Revenge /Justice. Leslie Headland directed this episode as well. It was written by Jason Micallef and Charmaine DeGrate. What were your first off takeaways from this episode as it followed the first one?
So it was like 10 minutes shorter. So I don't love how I'm going to be saying this, but I wish it was longer. Though I do think it kind of ended in the right spot there, and it ended on a good note. I'm happy with it.
Yeah, I thought it was good. It left the suspense at the end, and it flowed perfectly from episode 1 to episode 2, which I have the. All right, so episode 2's breakdown: May attempts to kill Jedi Master Torben in a temple on the planet of Olega, but is prevented by his forced meditation. And if you recognize Master Torben, he is an actor from Game of Thrones. I forget exactly who he played. I'll pull that up here.
I will say, to me, he looked like Discount. He looked like Discount Ewan McGregor. So
let's see, because I remember somebody saying who he was from Game of Thrones. Let's see. Dean Charles Chapman, who plays, for everyone out there who's looking for the analogy there, he was one of the Baratheons in Game of Thrones, for anybody out there. He also portrayed Tom Blake in Sam Mendes' film 1917.
okay.
So that is Jedi Master Torben. Torben has been floating in silent meditation for over a Vernestra sends Sol, Jecki, Yord, and Osha to investigate this attack, and May regroups with her supplier, Kamir, who is helping her hunt the 4 Jedi that were stationed on her and Osha's home planet, Brendok, at the time of the fire, Indara, Torben, Sol, and the Wookiee Kelnaka. I saw Eric Voss in his breakdown kind of position this because of where in the timeline this is happening in Star Wars. Jedi were kind of stationed across the galaxy, almost like priests, in a sense. So if you want to make that analogy there, that's how that kind of plays out. Kamir provides May with a poison and warns her that she still needs to kill one of the 4 without a weapon. May offers the poison to Torben as absolution for his past. He stops meditating and willingly takes it, dying just as the others arrive. May escapes, and Osha poses her to get information from Kamir. He reveals the existence of May's master and her overall plan. That night, Sol confronts May and reveals to her that Osha is alive. Osha attempts to stun May, but misses, and May escapes again. She later threatens Kamir over talking to the Jedi, but he convinces her to spare him because he has learned that Kelnaka is living on the planet Kofar, and I swear to God, if we try to kill a Wookiee, I'm gonna fight somebody. Interesting episode for sure, and you see a Jedi willingly off themselves. I think it only elevated kind of the double agent thing with the twins on this episode, and people questioning who is who and trying to get information from both sides of the aisle here, which was a lot of fun and interesting to kind of dissect. I really liked this episode a lot, and I agree with you. I wish it was a little bit longer. But we also see at the end the shadowy figure with the red lightsaber. A lot of people out there, Christian, saying that could be old Darth Plagueis, who is who we hear about in that ever famous scene with Anakin and the eventual Palpatine. Talking about that being his master. It would be really cool to see Darth Plagueis in live action. Or it could be somebody we have no fucking idea who it is, but it is going to be interesting to kind of see who May's master is in this whole scenario. But I really enjoyed this episode, and it kind of it did a good job of leaving you wanting more, but also being like, okay, there's more story to tell, so I get why it's ending here.
Yeah. Yeah, it's almost a I don't want to say a perfect 2-episode premiere, but it's kind of a great way to end off 2 episodes in how you kind of set everything up in the first one, and then you give us the taste of where it goes in the second with a great cliffhanger, and we go and wait a week.
Yeah, I was a big fan. I just like the pace, the tone, the overall vibe of this show is going to be a lot of fun, and I'm excited to see where things continue to go and move from here. What was your score for episode 2 before I see if I can pull up any of the reception notes?
All right, so normal scale 7.2, Star Wars scale 8.
7, 2, and 8. So you said Star Wars scale 8?
Yes.
I'm gonna give this one a little bit lower just because of the length, but I think it did a good job of telling the story still. I'm gonna go 8-1. Was a ton of fun, very enjoyable, and I'm just very excited for this show to continue trekking on and seeing where it moves as we keep pushing. But let us know in the YouTube comment section if you're watching The Acolyte along with us. I do have a couple of the news and notes from the show here. Rotten Tomatoes reported that 91% of the 108 critics gave the series a positive review with an average score of 7.45 out of 10. Come on, guys, that rounds up to 7.5. Let's be real here. The website's critical consensus reads, taking fresh risks with Star Wars lore while having infectious fun playing with the stylistic trappings of a galaxy far, far away. The Acolyte is a Padawan series with the potential to become a master. On Metacritic, the series holds a weighted average score of 67 out of 100 on 32 critics, indicating generally favorable reviews. The Guardian's review, Graham Virtue, wrote that The Acolyte benefits from being a fresh start for the creators and the audience alike, with no homework required. Anthony D'Alessandro at Deadline writes, Headland accomplishes what the Star Wars series were originally about, expanding, intriguing universe. Brian Lowry of CNN states, exhibiting influences that blend martial arts movies, young adult fiction, and the detective genre. It's an intriguing, if modest, addition whose lack of connection to existing canon proves both an advantage and disadvantage. Allison Herman of Variety writes, in giving itself permission to poke at Star Wars mythology, The Acolyte cultivates the same sense of curiosity it exhibits about its own universe. Alan Sepinwall of Rolling Stone writes, this Star Wars prequel series isn't a force to be reckoned with. Even a veteran Jedi master would lose patience with the latest Disney Plus addition to the canon, which focuses on a pair of twins, revenge, and highly disagree with it. Stick to the music there, Alan Sepinwall of Rolling Stone. I think this show's gonna be a lot of fun, and from what I saw, like the overall audience reception has been great. And I think our friends over at Culture Crave tweeted about the debut of the show and so it had 4.8 million views in its first 24 hours. It's the biggest Disney Plus series premiere of the year, which checks out in a number of ways, just knowing what has come out from Disney Plus. Yeah, I'm excited about this one. And also, Marvel Comics will publish a one-shot comic book on September 4th, 2024 that bridges the gap between the High Republic Publishing Initiative and the events of The Acolyte, titled Star Wars The Acolyte Kel Naka. The one-shot was written by High Republic writer Cavan Scott with art by Marika Cresta. It focuses on Kel Naka, the Wookiee Jedi introduced in The Acolyte. So that'll be fun later this year to potentially dive into as well. But Christian, we are going to shift here to review season. It's Tick Tick Boom on Netflix. If you have not watched Tick Tick Boom, you're doing yourself a disservice. I love this movie. It's so much fun, and I think does a great service for the musical movie genre. And Lin-Manuel Miranda just did a fantastic job with this movie as a whole as the director.
In his directorial debut.
Yes, what a perfect way to make that debut with this movie, and what an awesome cast. So for anybody that doesn't know, Tick Tick Boom is a 2021 American biographical music film directed by Lin-Manuel Miranda, as Christian mentioned in his featured directorial debut. It was written by Steve Levinson, who also serves as an executive producer, and it's based on the stage musical of the same name by Jonathan Larson, a semi-autobiographical story about Larson writing a musical to enter into the theater industry. And this film stars Andrew Garfield as Jonathan Larson, alongside Robin DeJesus, Alexandra Shipp, Joshua Henry, Judith Light, and Vanessa Hudgens. When you watch this as the film aficionado you are, what were your original takeaways from it and just the overall vibe of Tick Tick Boom?
So I did more of a cursory rewatch come for this time because I saw it originally when it first came out, but yeah, it's still great. It's still pretty good, man. Like it, Garfield is great, like and he was Oscar nominated as he should have been. And while I don't want to call it stage play at times, but this is very much operating within a realm where Lin doesn't have to do too much in his directorial debut. Though there is one specific song where he kind of flexes his muscles. But
Yeah.
it's like there's so many fun songs. They've great they've great they have great singers in it. Like it's a movie that you should watch, and I find very enjoyable. And it's also one of the last appearances of Stephen Sondheim, even if it's
Hmm.
just via voice.
Yeah. I thoroughly like love this movie, and the first time I watched it was with my boss at Buna, Carmen Bryant, and our choreographer Corey Critelli. Um we had a phenomenal unforgettable movie night at Carmen's house. Watching it, it was one of the funniest nights ever. Um just to set the scene, Carmen launched a roll of toilet paper over to us. I had like a can in my hand, Christian, and toilet paper just dead center bullseye hits the can, knocks it out, explodes everywhere. And talk about tick tick boom. Am I right? Um, but I think one of my biggest takeaways from this is like Andrew Garfield's got a fucking voice.
Andrew Garfield's just absurdly.
Yeah.
Andrew Garfield's just. I would, I would say, and now this, I I would call him one of our most underrated actors, which feels weird saying that he played Spider-Man, but I also think he's just the best actor to play Peter Parker slash Spider-Man, while he wasn't the best of at either of those two versions. At playing either of those two characters, he is the best actor
Hmm.
to have done that. And when you watch Tick Tick Boom, you watch Silence, you watch Hacksaw Ridge, you watch Under the Silver Lake Hell, you watch him in The Social Network, you go, right, yeah, this guy's a star.
Yeah. He is like turned into um one of my favorite actors. Like when I see Andrew Garfield, like I'm just like, yep, sign me up. I will watch it. I'm excited. Um, but yeah, if you don't know the story of Jonathan Larson either, this does such a great job of depicting just what he went through to break into Broadway. And then when you realize like who Jonathan Larson is, if you're not a theater person, arguably one of the greatest musicals ever was created by Jonathan Larson, and he never saw it on Broadway, which is crazy to just wrap your mind around. That he created Rent and never saw it be performed on Broadway. Um, so yeah, let's get into Tick Tick Boom. Um, it was named one of the best films of 2021 by the American Film Institute, and it was nominated for Best Motion Picture, Musical or Comedy at the 79th Golden Globe Awards and Best Picture at the 27th Critics' Choice Awards. For his performance, Garfield earned numerous awards, including the Golden Globe Award for Best Actor in a Motion Picture, Musical or Comedy, and as well as a nomination for the Academy Award for Best Actor, like Christian mentioned. So we kick it. Also, this was a
Hold on. I looked up the Golden Globes for a second, and I gotta unpack this. Whoa. I mean, that musical comedy lineup is so. First of all, there's three musicals in it. There, there is the Peter Dinklage Cyrano, which is an adaptation of Cyrano de Bergerac. There's Don't Look Up. There's Tick Tick Boom. There's My Beloved Licorice Pizza. And do you know what won that year, Kyle?
I'm afraid. What one?
Spielberg's West Side Story.
Oh.
Which, did it actually deserve it? I don't know. But I'm thinking about maybe Tick Tick Boom should have won it, but maybe it's just I need to rewatch Spielberg again.
Yeah. 3090 was a great song for me to listen to this year going into my age 30 season. Absolute banger of a song. But the plot here in 1992, Jonathan Larson performs his rock monologue "Tick Tick Boom" at New York Theater Workshop, accompanied by friends Roger and Caressa. He describes a constant ticking noise he hears in his head and begins to tell the story of the events leading to his 30th birthday. An unseen narrator explains the film is the true story of Larson, except for the parts Jonathan made up. In early 1990, Jonathan juggles work at the Moondance Diner in Soho while preparing for a workshop of his musical and passion project, Superbia. He feels pressure to be successful before he turns 30, with his birthday just over a week away. He sees the workshop as his last chance. He has a party at home with friends, including his former roommate Michael, his girlfriend Susan, and fellow waiters Freddie and Carolyn. Susan tells Jonathan about a teaching job at Jacob's Pillow and asks him to come. Michael, who previously left theater for a lucrative advertising career, sees Susan's offer as an opportunity for Jonathan to consider a serious future and invites Jonathan to join an advertising focus group at his company. Jonathan's producer, Ira, asks him to write a new song for Superbia because the story needs it. This troubles him, as his idol, Stephen Sondheim, told him the same at a composing workshop some years ago, but he can't come up with anything, and he only has a week. Jonathan's anxieties over the workshop and Michael and Susan's offers are compounded when he learns from Carolyn that Freddie, who is HIV positive, has been hospitalized, and he chooses to prioritize the workshop, which leads to trouble in his personal life. Susan, frustrated by Jonathan's indecisiveness and obsession with his career, breaks up with him, and he angers Michael when he deliberately sabotages the focus group. Michael accuses him of wasting his privilege to have a life with the person he loves, something Michael cannot do as a gay man in the AIDS crisis for the sake of a financially unstable theater career.
Can we talk about that breakup song?
Ugh.
The cutting in between them singing the song on the stools and the actual story. Oh,
So good.
That's fun.
After receiving an encouraging call from his agent, Rosa, Jonathan tries to write the new song the night before the workshop, but his power gets cut off. He heads to a swimming pool to vent his frustrations over the workshop and his personal life before finally coming up with the new song. That pool scene is also fucking great. Loved that. At the workshop, our friends, family, and industry professionals, including Sondheim, Jonathan receives praise, but no offers to produce Superbia. Rosa gives him a reality check that it will likely never be produced due to the content and production needs, and he must try again with a completely different show. Discouraged, Jonathan begs Michael for a corporate job, but Michael, having changed his mind after seeing the workshop, urges Jonathan to continue his musical career, revealing he is HIV positive. Realizing that his career obsession has cost him Susan and harmed his friendship with Michael, Jonathan wanders through New York before finding himself at the Delacorte Theater. He finds a piano and reflects on his friendship with Michael and his sacrifices he must make for his career. He and Michael reconcile, and on the morning of Jonathan's 30th birthday, Stephen Sondheim calls, congratulating him and wanting to talk more about Superbia, lifting his spirits. Holding his birthday party at the Moondance Diner, he is relieved to hear Freddie will be discharged from the hospital. Susan gives him a blank sheet music paper to help his career, and they part on amicable terms. She narrates that his next project was Tick Tick Boom before he returned to working on a previous project, which became Rent. Susan's narration reveals that Larson died of a sudden aortic dissection the night before Rent began previews off-Broadway. She laments that though Rent brought the success of that Larson desired, he never got to experience it for himself, nor did he get to say everything he wanted to do in his writing. In 1992, Jonathan performs the final song of Tick Tick Boom as he optimistically looks to the future. It's one of the craziest stories in terms of just creative humans in our lifetimes that Jonathan Larson never saw one of the biggest musical productions that he created ever be performed off Broadway or on Broadway. Rent is easily one of the biggest musicals of all time, and the guy who created it never got to see it through, which always blows my mind when I think about it.
Yeah. People always say that life is cruel, and I think this is kind of the story of Jonathan Larson's is a great example of that.
Yeah. This is a movie that like could literally like watch it as much as you want. It has such like, yes, it tells a story that has like a finite ending, but it is such a rewatchable movie all at the same time where like it's just so enjoyable and so well done. It's a great cast. The music and the soundtrack are just so fucking awesome. And I'd expect nothing less from a Lin-Manuel Miranda movie. But it is, over the past few years, it's one of my favorite movies to just like reflect on and listen to the soundtrack every now and then and just go back to because it is so damn entertaining.
It's not as fun as other musicals, but it is one where I will bump 3090 on every so often in my car and just enjoy that so much.
That and Boho Days is just a banger. It's so good. Yeah, I thoroughly like just love this movie. It's so much fun to just sit down and like hear just the intricacies of the music and just follow along with the story. And you know, if you're not a theater person, you learn a lot about just a widely successful and brilliant musical along the way. And the life of Jonathan Larson is told brilliantly through Lin-Manuel Miranda and Andrew Garfield. And when we were talking about what we were gonna discuss coming up on the show, I was like, let's do Tick Tick Boom when you brought it to the table because it's so much fun. Just from a learning aspect, from a music aspect, and just a production value that this movie brought was really, really well done, and can't recommend it enough. So, Christian, what is your score for Tick Tick Boom? You're muted again.
This is what happens when you try and drink a water bottle. I'll give it a 8.
Copy and paste here to put it into the database. I'm gonna give it. Let's see. I'm gonna go 8.4. For this bad boy, and obviously, if you know me and my musical theater background, it's a little elevated more so, and just being able to enjoy it from that aspect. But 8.4, Christian gives it an 8, which rounds up to an 8.2 out of 10 for Tick Tick Boom, which so far this year is our highest rated movie on the year. Boom. No pun intended. So there's our review season of Tick Tick Boom. And Christian, without any further ado, let's get to everybody's favorite segment. It is the Streaming Platform Multiverse News and Notes, brought to you by our pals over at Kenwood Beer, the official beer partner of Underground Sports Philadelphia. It's a refreshing light beer, just 4.1% ABV, only 120 calories, and just 8 grams of carbs. You guys can go to kenwoodbeer.com, use the Kenny Finder to see who's got Kenwood Beer on tap in the Philadelphia, New Jersey, Pittsburgh, Maryland, and Delaware areas. You can also get it at your local liquor stores in those markets. Also, check out Kenwood Beer's storefront to check out all the awesome Kenwood Beer merch, the great pint glasses. They've got stickers, beach towels, hats, you name it. KenwoodBeer.com, must be 21 or older to do so. And of course, please drink responsibly. Christian, as we're recording this, the NBA Finals are going on, and I think this is just a funny quote here from our guys at Culture Crave. Jaylen Brown says he spent the break before the NBA Finals watching all the Harry Potter films. His favorite characters are Dumbledore and Hermione.
So he's a basic bitch?
Valid.
Picks what? Two of the core 4 characters, essentially.
2 of the most beloved characters. Shocker.
Kyle, we're getting a new Wallace and Gromit film.
I am excited. I'm excited to see that, especially after the news. What was a couple months ago? They said that the clay that they used for those movies was like running scarce in the world. And it was like going to be tough to make those movies. Andrew Stanton will reportedly direct Toy Story 5. He co-wrote all the other Toy Story films, and he previously directed WALL-E and Finding Nemo.
Congrats. Lion King will be getting re-released on July 12th.
Is that animated or
animated?
Okay.
Good Lion King.
Good Lion King.
Not bad Lion King. Good Lion King.
This comes from the Times. Ian McKellen was asked if he's interested in returning as Gandalf for the hunt for Gollum. Quote, "If I'm still alive."
That's the spirit.
He said, "I haven't shaved in months, but there's no script, there's no offer, there is no plan." Everybody out there, we mentioned at the top of the show, it is Hell Month, as we mentioned, for TV in a good and bad sense, but run times for the first 4 episodes of House of the Dragon Season 2, according to our friends at Culture Crave. Episode 1, 63 minutes. Episode 2 is 72 minutes. Episode 3 is 65 minutes. And episode 4 is 54 minutes.
Cheers.
We got our first look at the Among Us series.
Hey. People need paychecks.
Michaela Hoover will play Cat Grant in Superman, according to The Hollywood Reporter.
Instagram is reportedly testing unskippable ads.
Boo. Instagram must have had a table meeting of what can we do to make our app even more unusable.
Hey, it's better than X at this point.
That's true.
We got a new trailer and teaser for Alien Romulus. Which, oh boy, no thank you.
We got a Spider-Man.
No, thank you.
We got a Spider-Man 2 reference in Despicable Me 4 as one of the minions is doing the Tobey Maguire trying to stop the train.
Do you want to talk about the Knives Out 3 cast?
Sign me up.
So for those people who, for some reason, don't know how Don't know the cast up. Wake Up Dead Man: A Knives Out Mystery. Stretch out for this one. Kaylee Spaney, Josh Brolin, Josh O'Connor, Andrew Scott, Jeremy Renner, Mila Kunis, Glenn Close, Kerry Washington, Thomas Hayden Church, and Daryl McCormick. Whoa. Oh, buddy.
And then there was rumors floating around that Tom Hardy and Lindsay Lohan could be in it, but I don't know how accurate those are.
I would buy Lindsay Lohan before Tom Hardy.
Agreed. The Academy is exploring the possibility of a stunt category for the Oscars.
Guys, we did this need to be added like 3 years ago, but that's besides.
I feel like we talked about this before.
We've been talking about it for a while. It's just they have to do it, which they added casting for 2026. So 2027 stunts, please, maybe. Even though 2027 is still way too late. Like, can you get stunts also for 2026, guys?
Leslie Headland says she wants to make a live action Knights of the Old Republic project. Sign me up. The next bit I have here. There's a new Hunger Games prequel movie releasing in theaters November 20th, 2026.
Can we just let this franchise die already?
I really like this quote. It's from Backstage. Tom Hiddleston recalls filming his final scene in Loki season 2. Co-director Aaron Moorhead made a suggestion. He said to me, "Why don't you go back, if you can bear it, and watch some of your work over the last 15 years, take it in, see what it means to you, and then carry it when you step out onto the stage." He then watched clips from Thor, remembering times with Chris Hemsworth. He recalled bonds he forged with the original 6 Avengers. He thought about how fun it was to film Thor Ragnarok with Tessa Thompson and Jeff Goldblum, and of the more recent friendships he found with Sophia DiMartino and Owen Wilson. I thought what Loki is doing, he is doing for his friends, and so Tom, why don't you do it for your friends? That's where the two of us met in that moment, and then I was so grateful I had this moment, or I had this most amazing crew, and we did it together. I think that's a fucking awesome quote and an awesome bit of advice by Moorhead to make that happen. I think that's genius.
Just a great story.
Yes. The big NBA broadcasting rights deal came through, but allegedly TNT is still negotiating for a 4th NBA rights package.
Well, so this is I'm just gonna say this now. It's because they have a right to match in their deal.
Yeah. And it could
So
include regular season and playoff games and would keep Inside the NBA on air, which Charles Barkley has said that if it doesn't go through, he's going to pretty much like buy the rights to Inside the NBA and then sell it as its own entity to whatever platform wants to buy it, which genius. Moving right along here for you movie theater goers and your drinks of choice, there's a new big dog at the top joining another one. This is pretty fun. Remaining at number 1 is Coke, but Dr. Pepper is now tied with Pepsi as the second biggest soda brand in the United States, a spot Pepsi held outright since 1985.
Dr. Pepper's toxic. It tastes horrific.
Hey now, Dr. Pepper is the GOAT.
No, Dr. Pepper's horrific.
No, especially cherry Dr. Pepper. Oh,
Wow.
chef's kiss. Chef's kiss. If Dr. Pepper ever wants to advertise with us, I am so on board. Fun fact. I don't know if you knew this. Did you know that Keurig and Dr. Pepper are the same company?
No, but that doesn't surprise me.
Moving along here. Happy 57th birthday to everybody's favorite blue man, Paul Giamatti. And Deadpool and Wolverine Christian is officially rated R for strong bloody violence and language throughout, gore and sexual references.
Sounds good. Perfect.
Turn us up. Matt Smith was asked who wins in a fight, Daemon Targaryen or Jon Snow. Quote, "Come on, mate. I have a dragon. I have a lot of respect for Jon Snow, but don't get it twisted. I'd fuck him up."
Oh, that's amazing. That's amazing. I have a dragon, so why is this a discussion? Oh, I love that. I love that.
Matt
Oh,
Smith is the best.
yeah.
I
Matt,
have a dragon.
Matt Matt Smith is such a quietly funny dude. I love him.
Oh, it's the best.
Ah.
James Gunn confirms Beck Bennett has been cast in Superman. He's playing Daily Planet reporter Steve Lombard.
Speaking of Superman stuff, Kyle, My Adventures with Superman, Kyle. Start watching the show, Kyle.
We'll get there. The Last of Us.
We're 3 episodes into season 2, Kyle. What are you talking about?
We have an update on The Last of Us, Christian. Our guy Pedro. Season 2 is 7 episodes. Season 3 will be significantly larger, and season 4 will potentially happen.
So I was talking about this with my friend who's played The Last of Us games, and I asked him, "There's only 2 games. How are you getting 3 seasons out of 1 game?" And his response was, "Well, you could do it from one person's POV in one season, the other season do from another, and then I forget what he said for the third." But I was like, still.
So the corresponding quote here is, "One thing is absolutely for sure. I don't see how we could tell the story that remains after season 2 is complete in one more season. We just want to put people's minds at ease that the idea that this season coming up is a little bit shorter than the first one is not because we're taking less time to tell the stories. It's because we want to take more time. The story that we're telling is much bigger than the story of season 1. There's just a lot more going on. It's a lot harder to produce, but we want every episode to feel like its own blockbuster, to be honest with you."
Wow.
I feel really old because 26 years ago this week, Mulan was released. Good Mulan, not bad Mulan, but
See, I feel like Disney's tried to wipe bad Mulan from existence.
yeah,
And
Mulan's so good.
yeah.
Christian, the Phillies are in London, and by the order of the Peaky Blinders, the movie's officially greenlit at Netflix. Cillian Murphy is returning. Stephen Knight wrote the script, and Tom Harper is directing. By the order of the Peaky fucking Blinders.
Excited.
Full Avengers 5 details. It may feature over 60 MCU characters. It's an ensemble instead of a handful of characters leading the team.
And this is how you know they're really spinning their wheels and running out of gas.
Thor, Loki, Hulk, Doctor Strange, Nebula, and Shang-Chi are among the potential characters. Michael Waldron has turned in the latest script. Production begins in 2025. The main villain is unknown. Sean Levy is their top choice to direct, and Marvel is going to meet with other directors while they wait for him to make a decision. My biggest takeaway from that is that if they want Sean Levy in, Deadpool and Wolverine is going to be fucking awesome. Not that we had any real overall doubts that it was going to be fun, but if they're already like, yeah, we want you to be directing an Avengers movie.
Here's my only counter to that. Sean Levy's the Ryan Reynolds paragon. Like, he's done what, 3 or 4 of his last 5 or 6 films.
Mm-hmm.
If this is not a Deadpool centered film, I have questions. Because if we look at his non Ryan Reynolds stuff, He did the Night at the Museum films. Good, but that's also like Ben Stiller at the end of his peak.
Mm-hmm.
Fair, right? Then he did Date Night. Then he did Real Steel, which that's one to unpack there. Then he did The Internship. Then he did This Is Where I Leave You and Night at the Museum, Secret of the Tomb. So he directed all 3 Night at the Museum films. And now he's gone free. And then it was 7 years till he did his next directorial film, where it's gone Free Guy, Adam Project, Deadpool and Wolverine, and he's slated for a Star Wars film. Like, I mean this in the nicest way. I don't trust you. I don't
And
trust
I know it's not a
Sean.
movie, but obviously a lot of people, I think, just in the general public, know Sean Levy from Stranger Things.
Sure. I'm not saying he can't make it good. I'm just saying I don't trust him to make I don't expect him to make a Avengers movie that woman just go, "Oh, we're so back." Like I don't have that expectation of him if it isn't led by Ryan Reynolds and Deadpool.
Warner Brothers is raising the price of its ad-free model for Max yet again. Monthly, it's going to go from $15.99 to $16.99, and annually, it's $149.99 to $169.99.
I mean, at least it's only $1. It could be worse. But also, and this is a discussion going around Hollywood, they want to force people to the ad tier because that's where they can make money off of advertisers. Where I was having this discussion with a friend. I only want to watch something with ads if it's like Tubi or something, and I'm not paying for it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think most people are like that. So, yeah, no.
This one's kind of mind-blowing because she's been in our cultural zeitgeist our entire lives, but which would feel like it would make her feel older than she is, but she's way younger than you would expect. Happy 49th birthday to Angelina Jolie.
How old's Brad Pitt? Brad Pitt is 60.
Jesus.
Handsome man for 60.
Yeah.
But I mean, mentally that kind of checks out for me, just because. Christ, I'm trying to remember because I remember her being young when she first got in.
Mm-hmm.
And what's the movie I'm exactly thinking of? Yeah, Girl. It's the fact that Girl Interrupted was in 1999, so I knew she was in her like early 20s then, which she, based on this, was like 24, 25. So wait, huh? 99? Yeah, 24, 25. So mentally that doesn't surprise me, but also it's like, damn, it's been that long.
It's weird to like see that. Jordan Peele reportedly had a meeting with Marvel Studios to discuss one of their upcoming projects.
It's reportedly X-Men, and this is probably how it went. Hey Jordan, no. Okay, good talking to you. I do not believe for 1 second they had a serious conversation about Jordan Peele doing an X-Men movie.
I could see it, but I'm agreeing with you.
Keyword in their serious conversation.
Yeah.
Because like they probably reached out and took like a 30-minute meeting and then parted ways and shook hands and said, shrug.
Daniel Bruhl is very confident he will return in the MCU as Baron Zemo. No shit, buddy. Zemo is one of the biggest members of the Thunderbolts.
Dude.
Plus, I feel like Zemo is one of the most beloved like villains in Marvel.
See, I would call Zemo an anti-hero. I wouldn't call him
Yeah,
a
that's
villain.
true.
Because like he's like, yes, he does the brainwashing on Bucky, but that's all he really does. He just does brainwashing because he's a chaos agent. Like he never really does anything that's truly bad, even though he uses Bucky as the animus to kill people. But shrug, you know.
Yeah. Moving right along here. We got the Venom: The Last Dance trailer.
Stupid movie, a firmly stupid movie.
I can't fucking wait. Say what you want. Venom, the Venom movies are fun. They're kooky and crazy, but they're fun.
No. So the Venom movies are fully in on their own joke, but that
Yes.
doesn't also mean that they're good movies to me.
They are the best Sonyverse non-inclusive to Spider-Man movies that Sony has produced.
They are chaotic, and I enjoyed their chaotic nature, but I don't think they're good movies.
For sure. We also got our first look at Rhys Ifans in Venom: The Last Dance. He previously played Dr. Connors / the Lizard in The Amazing Spider-Man, which was Andrew Garfield Spider-Man for everybody at home.
And technically Tom Holland Spider-Man, right?
It's true. It's true.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, we apparently have like a baby Spider-Man in this movie, so that'll be interesting.
He's a baby.
Looking here, Godzilla -1 - Color releases on Netflix later this summer.
So, I saw the minus color version. I'm be honest, prefer the color version. And I say this as someone who likes black and white films. I just didn't love the coloring in the black and white version.
It's crazy that we're already at the 1-year anniversary of this, but Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse released a year ago this week.
Damn. And let's do like one more thing, Kyle.
This is something, to tie it back to what we discussed earlier with the Acolyte. The Acolyte star Amanda Stenberg says her favorite Star Wars movie is Revenge of the Sith. So kind of keep that in mind when you're watching her character.
Yep.
That is all we have for you guys on this episode. Make sure you're following us on the socials at StreamerSZN on Twitter, Instagram, and Threads, and StreamerSZN Pod on TikTok. Be sure to follow Christian on Twitter at @thewiz_PHI. Follow me at KBICZL311. Subscribe to the podcast feed on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts in audio form. Leave those 5-star ratings and reviews. And also subscribe to the Underground Sports Philadelphia YouTube channel, youtube.com/@UndergroundSportsPhiladelphia. That is where you get full video episodes of this show, full video episodes of every show on our network, clips, shorts, live streams, original video content. And of course, get your merch from our awesome merch partners at PHI Apparel Company. Go to phiapparel.co. Stand out in the crowd, get your StreamerSZN merch. And when you go to checkout, use code Underground for 10% off your merch order. And we will be back next week with more of the Acolyte, more than likely another movie review. And Christian, I'm going to bring something to the table because I haven't watched it yet, and I've wanted to save the reaction for it for the show. I'm going to show you something that I had come in the mail. We should watch Tires.
But I don't wanna. Right. I will give you an episode of Tires.
Okay. I haven't watched any of it yet, for what it's worth.
The only reason I say is because everyone I've talked to and everything I've seen, the show is fucking stupid.
See, I've seen the complete opposite. Everyone I've talked to and everything I've seen has been like, Tires is fucking hilarious.
Well, maybe that's because the people I talk to have higher standards. Anyway,
Shane Gillis, he's my guy.
yeah, I know he's your guy.
So we'll see if that's on the docket next week. But this has been another edition of StreamerSZN, the exclusive streaming platform TV and movie podcast on the Underground Sports Philadelphia Podcast Network. For Christian, KB, we are going to go travel to a galaxy far, far away and question some Jedis. And this is the life. Bo. But until next time, we'll see you next time. Peace.